And welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. Thanks for being with us here. Let's keep talking politics. Let's get back into talking politics, I should say. We're going to hear now from our friend, Fox News' Rebecca Castor, on the debate about the debate that has now been sparked in the wake of this post on Truth Social today by former President Trump. Let's watch.
The latest feud between the Trump and Harris campaigns could keep the candidates off the debate stage next month.
This former president is so scared to get on the debate stage.
I think they'll do anything they can to try to get out of a debate with President Trump.
The debate before the debate is whether microphones should be muted when it's the other candidate's turn to speak. That rule was in place during the Biden-Trump debate in June, and we all know how that worked out for the current president. Now Harris's team is demanding the mic stay hot.
That is absolutely our preference in this campaign, to have live microphones so that the American people can see both candidates for who they are and hear everything that comes out of their mouths.
At a campaign stop in Virginia Monday, Trump admitted he doesn't care if his mic is muted or not. But he doesn't like that Harris's camp is trying to change rules they already agreed to.
Now all of a sudden they want to make a change in the rules because she can't answer questions. We can't have another dummy as a president, okay?
Several networks invited Trump and Harris to debate on their air. The former president accepted multiple offers, but the vice president has only agreed to a debate on ABC so far.
In my book, there should be 3 presidential debates, not one. If voters are not informed, then it's not a democracy with real votes.
If the ABC debate goes forward as planned, it will happen 6 days before some Pennsylvania voters can begin casting their votes, the first in the country. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Rebecca, thanks so much. Let's talk about all of this and more with our friend there at the Los Angeles Times, Seema Mehta. She joins me. Seema, good to see you here. I know you were covering the DNC there in Chicago all last week. We'll get into that in just a moment here. But is it a fool's errand to be debating about the debate? Is the debate on or off today?
I think it's a big question. I think that both sides have their points. I mean, clearly the Democrats believe that having President Trump, or former President Trump, unmuted, untethered during the debate will help the vice president's candidacy. Clearly, it seems like the former president's campaign believes it's better to have him muted at times, or just to be able to make the statements and and then to be sort of drowned, and then to have his microphone cut off. I can see the strategy from both sides, but also, to be fair, the former president's campaign did agree to these rules when the current president's campaign was that he was the nominee. So we're on a sort of a different ballgame. So it seems like, I don't know what sports analogy to make, but it seems like if you sort of reset the rules or reset the players, you might need to reset the rules.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask about this because is this just two presidential campaigns chirping at each other in the run-up to the debate, competitively speaking here, or is Harris, in the wrong? Does she have to abide by what was already agreed upon by President Biden? Now she is the Democratic nominee for president there. So does she think, or does her camp think, that everything that was agreed upon, it's open to negotiation or interpretation? I don't know.
That is for people who are far smarter than me to ever claim about. But I do think, it is a different, we're sort of, this is my, I think, 5th or 6th presidential campaign. We've never seen a presidential campaign like that. So we're sort of like this, I'm sorry. So we're sort of in uncharted territory. So I don't know what the right answer to that is. And I think nobody knows what the right answer is. That is because we haven't, every other presidential campaign we've seen has sort of gone by sort of norms. And so this has been very unusual from, the current incumbent president deciding not to seek, or being pressured not to seek re-election, deciding not to seek re-election, the party then quickly coalescing behind the vice president. So, I mean, I don't know that there's a precedent, at least in my lifetime, for this. So I don't know what the right answer for this is. But I mean, I think, for voters, for Americans, it's important to see the two of them face off. So I figure, and to talk about ideas and their differences. So I hope that there is some exchange of ideas between the two of them soon.
I do too. I think that would be very worthwhile. I hope there's more than one. Seema, I wanted to ask too, let's go back to Chicago. Let's talk about the DNC here. There was this kind of strain of criticism among some Republicans toward the DNC that it was all just vibes last week. There was no substance here, that, the Harris Walz sugar high isn't going to last. What is the momentum going into Labor Day, going into the fall here? Will it last?
I mean, I think that's a great question. I had a question about that, or a story about that on A1 of the LA Times on Friday. So everyone should check that out, please.
Definitely.
But in general, no, I think that's a great question. I don't necessarily agree that there was no substance. I think there was a decent amount of substance. Yes, there was fun vibes and memes and all their memes, or however you pronounce it, because I'm old and I don't know. But there was a lot of there was policy discussion. I think there was a bit more foreign policy than we've seen from the vice president campaign until now. So I think there was some substance, but I think and there was so much enthusiasm on the floor. The question is, and among the delegates and the people who just came to be, they didn't expect this many people to be here when Joe Biden was going to be the nominee. Like the spaces they rented were not large enough because they rented them when they thought Joe Biden was going to be the nominee. So wow. the enthusiasm, the just exuberance was off the charts. The question is, and I believe I quote somebody, and I believe it might be Pete Buttigieg in my story saying this, which is like, how do you bottle that up until Election Day? Because that's a real question. Because yeah, you can all have fun and have a big party and be like, yay, but the sprint is on now, and between we're at 71 days, 70 days.
Right.
This is now like, do you get people out? Do you get people knocking on doors? Do you get people making phone calls? Do you get people volunteering? In California, it doesn't matter. I don't know what state you're based in. Are you based in California as well?
We're in Arizona here, Phoenix. Yeah.
No, Arizona, you actually matter.
Yeah, we do.
California doesn't matter. So what do you do with all these excited California Democrats? Do you get them to be excited for their nominees and to actually turn that excitement into action? Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, states like that, the people who live there, the activists there have actual work to do. But all this enthusiasm you saw from Democrats across the nation at this convention, I think the big question from Democrats is, can they turn that into actual votes?
Yeah, I wanted to ask too, that 70 plus days is an eternity in politics, in the news cycle. But the Harris camp had promised, or at least had said as much publicly, that she would sit down for some type of one-on-one interview by the end of August, by the end of this month here. Do you anticipate, because you cover this so closely, I mean, do the press corps following the Harris camp, do they anticipate that she is going to be made more available, more accessible to the media now that the convention is over? Should we anticipate that?
I mean, I think she has to be, but the question is what happens with the debate? Because she clearly has to do debate prep. So there's the balance of those two needs. And I think an interview is very important for her, like a one-on-one, like substantive interview, not just like answering a question here and there. But also she's obviously going to be spending a substantive amount of time on debate prep. But the timeline is so short, which is also what's so bizarre about this campaign cycle compared to other campaign cycles where, your nominee is forever, you on both sides, there's so many things are so decided before you get to this point. And this is almost like a British election where you just have like this time crunch, which is really interesting to me. Yeah. Nothing I've experienced before.
Yeah, it's a very compressed, condensed timeline. Speaking of Democrats, though, or should I say former Democrats, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. threw his backing behind Donald Trump in Arizona on Friday. And then today in Michigan, former Democratic representative from Hawaii, Tulsi Gabbard, she has switched parties now. She threw her backing behind Donald Trump today in Michigan here. So if you wanted to go back a year ago or 4 years ago or even like 8 or 9 years ago, and we would be talking about a member of the Kennedy family and Tulsi Gabbard, of all people, throwing their backing behind the Republican nominee for president, I wouldn't make that bet, but we're seeing that in just the last 4 days here. What does that say about the Republican Party?
On the same page, would you expect to see Liz Cheney backing a Democrat?
No, I mean also Adam Kinzinger speaking at the DNC. Yeah.
I mean, Tulsi, I haven't put Tulsi aside because I think she's on her own little island, aside from being from an island that I adore and I go back to all the time and vacation frequently. RFK, I think, is really the more interesting example to focus on because he, a member of a storied Democratic family, the namesake of an assassinated, icon of Democrats. And you can see, his brother, Max Kennedy, published an op-ed in our paper, the Los Angeles Times today, about the pain that it's causing his family. I think that one is more interesting, because of some of his views on science and vaccines. And he was, he also, his work on the environment. I think that one is the more painful one for Democrats in the same way that somebody like a Liz Cheney or other conservative Republicans who are conservative Republicans about their refusal to embrace Donald Trump. I mean, I think this election is just really showing real fault lines in both parties.
Yeah, because I thought that was somewhat of a theme last week in Chicago. These former Republicans who did not support Donald Trump getting speaking slots. Jeff Duncan from Georgia, Adam Kinzinger from Illinois, and there were so many video montages, I think, every day of former Trump voters who now are putting their backing behind the Harris-Walz ticket. So I thought that was so interesting as well. Seema, before we go, what are you watching for this week? It's the start of a new week. We got a long way to go. What do you got your eye on?
Well, I got COVID at the DNC. So
oh, no. Okay.
That's why I'm sick in Chicago. So largely I'm watching my COVID test so I can get back on a flight. But in general, I'm waiting to see whether does this debate actually happen. And then, so I think the vice president and her running mate, they're going to Georgia this week. And I think that's going to be fascinating to watch because I think a lot of, Georgia was sort of written off. And I think that Democrats have a lot more excitement about that. Who knows if that's something that is just hype or if it's something that's real. So I really want to see how voters are speaking there about it. I'm looking to see how the map has changed. Some people would argue that President Biden would have greater strength in, the Rust Belt and in places that identified Scranton Joe, that the vice president would have more appeal in states like North Carolina and Georgia. So I'm looking to see the polling. I'm looking to see where everybody goes.
Yeah. Speaking of polling, though, just lastly, too, because I would imagine we're going to see some of these post-DNC polling out there and whether or not there was or is going to be a Harris-Walz bump. I'll have my eye on that, too.
Yeah. And I think traditionally there's always been a bump, but we live in a different media environment now. So I don't know what that bump means now compared to 10 or 20 years ago.
All right. Seema Mehta, thanks so much for your time. We'll definitely be speaking soon. Have a good night and get well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. In the meantime here, I wanted to put up one of these tweets here as well, talking about Donald Trump and Tulsi Gabbard from Fox saying, "Save our country." Former Democratic presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard calls on Americans to reject the, quote, anti-freedom culture of political retaliation and abuse of power, warning we can't allow the country to be destroyed. So she appeared on stage there speaking at the National Guard Association in Michigan today with former President Trump, and she threw her backing behind the former president. From what I understand, she will be appearing at a round table with the former president as well, according to Politico's Meredith McGraw, saying this, that Trump's Thursday town hall in Wisconsin will be moderated by Tulsi Gabbard. That's according to a campaign announcement. And of course, she endorsed Trump today.